So, I usually don't go to cons a whole lot, and I haven't went to a con ever since, well, MomoCon, which was my very first con actually in 22. But I went to DragonCon, and I've known about it for a good bit. I actually known about it since I was 12 because, well, it's kind of like the big local thing. Like, if you're a nerd and you wanted to go like meet other nerds, you would go to DragonCon if you were in Georgia. And I'm like, what's a DragonCon? I don't get that. I never got the concept. Never got the concept of a convention, basically. And fuck. See, this is why I should write a script. Nah, fuck it. We're not writing a script for this one. We're just diving into it. but but yeah. So I haven't. I've seen conventions happen out just from my outside view, and I've seen like shit just happen. But I never really participated in one for a long time up until more recently this year because, well, the pandemic, while it exists still, it's kind of more like died down and like, okay, I could be a bit more open and such. So, to get my first con experience, with a MomoCon, to just really understand like what is the con experience like. So going to DragonCon, I was somewhat aware of what to kind of expect, but not heavily, right? I just knew like, oh, okay, it's gonna be a bunch of nerds with cosplays, and they're all gonna be geeking out over some cool shit. So I like that, right? And so I go there, and it wasn't that at all. Well, I mean, it was that, but like, it was that, but to the extreme, like the massive fucking extreme. Okay, like, to give you some context, so going to DragonCon, I went by myself, okay, because I don't have friends, or I didn't have friends that wanted to go or had the time to go because it was in the middle of the semester, right? And knowing this, I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna go to DragonCon to sort of learn about not only the convention itself, but just learn some skills as a voice actor, and even as a writer. Because, like, you know what, fuck it, I need to learn writing skills anyways, just in general, right? So I signed up for a bunch of those classes, and I spent way more money than I probably should have, aka $300. But I'm not gonna say that I have good spending habits because that's bullshit. No, I don't. It's like all the shit that I bought, and oh, you can't see it in this frame, but what about Fuck it, I gotta lift this up a little bit. Yeah, you see that in the background? Hey, I can do it. Yeah, that thing in the background. Yeah, I bought that for like $10, but it was hella worth. Oh, let me adjust this. Fuck. I'm a professional YouTuber, I swear. Uh, but But yeah, so that sort of stuff happened. And, it just like the classes themselves, I will say, I learned a lot. Like a fuck ton. Now, granted, some of the information was kind of redundant, but that's because I already took classes before for voiceover work, and then I took a bunch of workshops. So I pretty much had the knowledge of everything I would need for voiceover. I just didn't really know, like, where am I in the spectrum, or what are like the more actionable steps that I would need as a voice actor. And I learned those things. And same thing as a writer. I learned like how to be a good writer. I learned how to write a novel in 21 days, and I learned like stupid amount in terms of writing in general. Like, I actually think I got like the full like writing course, if there was like a writing course for people who want to be authors, basically. So that was super sick. But it's not only that. That's like the technical stuff, right? There was so much more that I learned from DragonCon, and it's just like there's a social aspect of it, and there's just like talking to different people, meeting so many different people with different backgrounds and everything, and just seeing like all the things that people can come up with cosplay, and just the culture that people could just bring up. And I know it's like, that's just happy bullshit, like good culture, like super inclusive, but that ass though, no, like DragonCon has like probably the best culture I've ever seen in a convention, and I'm genuinely surprised about that. And just the people, like, you could like the thing about this convention is, if you were to ever go, you could go, or if you went before, you probably know that you could just go up to some random person and just be like, yo, what's up, what brought you here, or hey, I like your cosplay, and then like go from there. Just some random shit, or just walk into a random conversation. Like, what was it? I came back today, right? And like, the time of recording this is Monday, so the last day of DragonCon. And I just walked into like just a group of people, right? They were just talking about chemistry. And I was like, oh, I like me some chemistry. Chemistry's quite interesting. And all that fun stuff. So yeah, I just chat about chemistry for a little bit, and yada yada yada, and then yeah, no, it's a super fun time. I I learned a good bit from like many different people in terms of just like networking and just steps to not only be a voice actor and like a creative artist, but also to be a better scientist, which I found to be very ironic and also something I never would have thought I would have learned from DragonCon of all things, because DragonCon just has a bunch of shit. Like, I really mean that when I say DragonCon has a bunch of shit. Like, they have groups of people where they have groups that's dedicated to fitness and science and like other nerd stuff, of course, but they have like some niche stuff, like very niche stuff, like some for singing and like bard singing and whatnot, or like folk tales and LARPing. I've heard of LARPing, and then like a British, like literally a group just for British people. It's or just British culture, I believe. But it's nuts. You learn so much, and I learned a lot about the con itself, just like the amount of like groups, the cliques, and everything like that. You know, that's all great and dandy, but the big thing I learned from DragonCon, I learned a lot about myself actually, and you got to be thinking like, okay, well, like, don't you learn that through like everyday life, man? Like, is that kind of normal? Like, okay, sure, but not to the extent of DragonCon. Why? Well, here's the thing. When I first came to DragonCon, well, like before that, pre-DragonCon, let's say, I saw myself as like two different versions of me. Okay, I had the scientific side of me, and I had like this like nerd, which is like, okay, I'm doing all the side stuff, I'm working towards medical school. The hustler side, we'll call it, right? This is all business oriented, very boring me, basically. And then there's the other side. There's the other me, which is just like all this creative, a literal child, basically, where, you know, this me is basically doing voice acting and like all this creative shit, and then it's just acting like a dumbass, really, and like putting on some funny costumes during class because I could do that, and all that fun stuff. But then taking the voiceover class sort of like introduced me to the idea of like, hey, you could just take these two, put it into one. You ever thought of that? And I'm like, damn, I've never thought of that. Like, it might sound stupid to some people, but to me, that was like the eye-opening thing. It's like, that's all I needed to do to live these two lives, quote unquote, you know, like these two different sides of me. It's so crazy, right? Like, as obvious as it might seem to some people, it was an eye-opener for me. Like, that's one thing. That was like the one big thing, the big moment. The other thing is just like being a scientist, like actually embracing myself more as a scientist, right? Because the way that I express myself, or the way I would explain myself to other people, would be somewhat of a scientist. Like, oh yeah, sure, I'm a scientist, you know, like, it's cool, but not to the point where it's like I'm super fucking hyped to be a scientist. Like, holy shit, have you seen this nerd shit? This is super cool. And then tied along with the voice acting stuff, like, yo, look at this, I could be a mad scientist, you know, and like all the fun shit. Oh, that's audio peaks. Ha. Oh well, whatever. But yeah, I am. Oh my god, the amount of stuff. Like, I feel like I'm not doing myself justice here, because I don't have a script. I'm just kind of putting out whatever's in my head, and B, so much has happened. I have a lot of stories that I could just go on about, but that would be a long video, and I'm not trying to waste y'all's time. And at this point, we're at the point where it's like, okay, cool. So we have all this. You know a lot about all of my stuff in DragonCon, or just cons in general, really. But what does this mean for you? Well, what I will say is, if you're thinking about going to a con, do it. And do it, like, schedule early in advance, because, you know, prices rack up the later you register for. So that's that. That's like one thing. The other thing is, if you're in high school or college or whatever, or like you're around my age, like a young adult, and you're just trying to figure out like, what the fuck are you trying to do in life, right? Well, I tried to figure that out as well, but I think going to conventions like DragonCon, or like going to places of high interest, like, it doesn't even have to be like a nerd convention like this. It could just be like a meetup, or like, I don't know if you're super into cars. Car meetups are the best place you could probably go to, like, if you want to do mechanic work or some shit, and things like that, right? Or what is it like? Just clubs in general in school. That's like another thing. That's like a smaller scale sort of deal. But like, if you want a big scale event, you want to meet different types of people. The bigger the event, the better. And just go into that mosh pit, just whatever, and then just don't worry about anything. Walk in and be like, hey, what's up, guys? I have this interest. What's good with y'all? Right? Because I told you earlier that I went to DragonCon by myself. I had nobody to really talk, like, nobody I knew to talk to say the least. Especially over the phone. But, yeah, I tried to avoid that as much as I could, really. So, that pressured me to actually just go out and talk to different people. Because it was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never been to DragonCon. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where the places are because the convention is huge. I'm not shitting you when I say this. It took up four and a half maybe hotels. I say 4.5 because it took up another hotel, but not too much of the space. So 4.5, let's say. And it took up I think it was a mall, right? It took up a mall. It rented a mall for 4 to 5 days. Well, 5 days. 4.5. I don't know. Fuck you on your schedule. It took up 5 days. That is how huge it is, and this is like one rectangle basically. Like, I think it took up like 3 to 4 blocks. That's just con space. You know, it's so nuts. It's huge, and if you like, obviously you don't have to go to events that big, right? Like if you have, I know some people that would have like some social anxiety problems, or people that just aren't really comfortable with huge, especially with COVID existing. Totally understandable. You don't have to go to the huge places like that. I still strongly suggest, at least at some point, go to a big event. Go to a big convention. For fun. That's it. For fun. You don't have to go in for, like, networking, or, like, making the moolah, or advertising yourself, or, like, learning something. No. You don't have to. Now, some people do that, right? Like, I knew some people, when I went to MomoCon, you know, they were out doing that, and I knew, like, people at DragonCon, they were kind of doing that, too, with, like, science and acting and such. I did it a little bit, too, because it was kind of easy for me. It was just like, okay, oh, shit, you need an actor? Hey, I'm an actor, what's up? And, yeah, I just kind of gave them my number, that's it. So it's up to them what they want to do with it, but it's just a little side tangent, but shit like that. That's like, that's networking 101, wow. But that's the extent of my networking. I didn't really do much of that. I just kind of, like, had fun and just enjoyed the atmosphere and just give myself a break, honestly, because if you're in a similar route that I am, you know, you're going to school and you're busting your ass, like, and I really mean busting your ass, like, 24/7, you're studying all day, you don't really go out that often, you don't party that much. Cons will really help you sort of, like, bring that sort of humanitarian side to you, number one, and number two, just enjoying life. I'm serious, like, just enjoying life in general, because the way that I would explain convention, like huge conventions like DragonCon, is it's like you're a 12-year-old kid going to another country. Like, it's scary at first. It's very scary, right? But there's this still like childlike mindset where it's like, you know, oh my god, this is so new. There's a lot of exciting things that happens, but you still have enough maturity to understand like how to get around, you know? So that's why I stick with that example. And I really don't know what else to say aside from just like, it's really like, I strongly recommend you go to conventions like this, and you don't have to take classes. That's just something I wanted to do out of my own volition because, well, I wanted to learn something, like heavily learn some stuff, but you can still learn stuff from like for your panels. You can just walk around and just enjoy like the atmosphere and just have something new. Life is like a fucking RPG game, right? There's a lot of things that can happen. There's a lot of quests and a lot of events, like short time events and all that fun stuff. And a lot of RPG games usually have a pretty good story, from my experience. Now, let me know if you find a shitty one. I kind of want to try it. Not gonna lie, but yeah. So, but for the most part, a lot of RPG games have a really good story because there's so many events that happen throughout. You go through many quests, many side quests as well, and then you talk to so many people or NPC character, whatever, right? DragonCon is basically like that. That's another analogy I could give it. It's like playing a video game where you're acting as the main character, and everything is a side quest, essentially. Because like everything is a side quest, right? Because sure, not everything is really necessary for DragonCon. Like, going to all the panels isn't really that necessary. Unless, again, you're there strictly for, like, networking or trying to make connections and business stuff or whatever, right? Unless you're doing that, fine. Then that is your main goal. But in terms of going to DragonCon just, like, as a normal con goer, or, like, your first time going to a con, walk in and just enjoy the atmosphere. And, like, let yourself enjoy. Because, like, when you play an RPG game for the first time, you could, like, strictly just, like, if you wanted to complete the game as fast as you can, you do all the main quests, like, the whole storyline, right? But chances are, if you're just a normal RPG player, you're going to explore the world a lot. You're going to engross in the world and enjoy the beauty of it and just see, like, all of this crazy shit happening and talk to all the NPCs and all that. The exact same thing is going to happen in DragonCon. And usually with those two, like, the RPG experience and the DragonCon experience, you would enjoy that a lot more if you just walked around and did whatever and just learn on the way, like, sort of like a curiosity thing. And it's just, oh my god, I could preach this a lot longer than I can, but I think, you know, I said quite enough when it comes to just DragonCon in general and all this stuff. And I know this is usually not the kind of videos I made, like, in the past, like, couple days, because, you know, I wanted to go with the shift of anime self-help, I guess, but I really think that this is a important message, and I feel like this is something that, you know, if you haven't went to a con, I strongly suggest it, not just because it's, like, it's a really good experience, well, obviously it is, but you also learn a lot from just other people in general, like, just everything you learn, like, everything about you, everything about everyone else, how the world works, and, like, how, like, expressive people can be, and different ways to express, and, like, the amount of shit that happens, it's so cool. And then, like, trust me, you'll learn things that you would have never expected of yourself. Like, I never thought I would be much of a party person. I went to a DragonCon party, I went fucking nuts. I was out there taking off my shirt or whatever, just going bombastic and all that fun stuff. And I left, I was like, damn, I totally get why people party. Like, holy fuck, you know? And hey, maybe that could be you if you haven't partied before, you know? You just want to get that experience and just go fucking nuts. It's something, right? And it's a fun something. I hope you can go out, make some dope ass memories, and yeah, that's just my DragonCon experience. So yeah, that's that's the reason why I haven't been uploading in a while, and why I'm uploading on Monday, because I'm thinking about my upload schedule sort of being around, like, the weekends, which I think is somewhat fair. Either weekends or bi-weekly. It's like one of those two things. But either way, oh yeah, I have this coaster, by the way, that yeah, this is this is basically me in middle school, right? It's just a cringy ass photo of me from when I had Instagram, and someone decided to turn it into a coaster with the laser gravers. That was shit. But anyways, side tangent aside, my plan really is just sort of make, like, either weekly or bi-weekly videos on, like, anime self-help stuff, and hopefully I can increase the quality of the content a bit more. This one's a bit more of, like, I just wanted to do this because I wanted to put a video out there, and also I just wanted to preach this message really, really heavily, honestly, because, like, it's just a good message overall. I think that this is nice, you know, and I think this is something that people should do a bit more often. And yeah, that I probably sound like a broken record at this point now, just repeating shit, but that's why I have a script, which I'm going to do next time. Well, I'm going to definitely do for the anime videos. I just wanted to do this because I wanted to put that out there. I just let that exist. And maybe have this exist for me in the future. So, we'll see. Anyways. Bye, y'all. And I'm not going to beatbox this time because I'm getting tired of beatboxing every time I close the videos. So, like, anyone watches the end of the videos because I'm a smart YouTuber. I love hiding behind the pop filter, like. Okay. Okay, that's enough of that. I reached 20 minutes. I'm going to head out. Bye-bye.